If I could go back 20 years, what would I tell myself?
Mm-hmm.
Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, definitely. No question about that.
Have you ever wondered how successful architecture, engineering, and construction companies scale their business?
Or have you ever wanted guidance on how to get more growth, wealth, and freedom from your AEC company?
Well, then you're in luck. Hi, I'm Will Foret.
And I'm Justin Neagle, and we're your podcast hosts.
We interview successful AEC business leaders to learn how they use people, process, and technology to scale their businesses.
So sit back and get ready to learn from the industry's best. This is
Building Scale.
Hey listeners, it's Will here. Our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy. If you've ever listened to our show, then you know that the three pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology. So if you suspect technology is your weak link, then book a call with us to see where we can help maximize your company's IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
Today's guest is Amanda Millett, a dynamic leader at Elevation, a company committed to revolutionizing how we use energy in our homes. Amanda brings a wealth of experience in driving sales and fostering partnerships that amplify sustainable energy solutions. As a key leader in sales at Elevation, Amanda spearheads efforts to integrate sustainable energy solutions in our buildings. Her experience is forging impactful partnerships helps push the envelope in how we all can manage our networks better. So don't miss this deep dive into a greener future with one of the industry's leading voices. And with all that said, Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you. Will, great to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Disclaimer, I am sick, so if I sound different from the usual podcasting, I apologize to the audience. Just couldn't help it. My son at home decided to get us all sick, and it's just been traversing, apparently, the country.
That's the fun thing about daycare and schools. You just continuously build your immune system. It's all about building immune systems and being better.
It is a constant learning.
For sure. Also, now that you mentioned that, Will, the AI, I'll have to be like, no, this is Will. Really, this is his voice. I swear it is. That's not going to believe me. But anyways, let's get into this. So, Amanda, tell us about your tale. Tell us about how you started in sales, where you're taking sales, what you've done, all those amazing things, and tell us about Elevation.
Well, my journey is long and storied. We could take it all the way back to when I graduated high school and joined a magazine crew to sell magazines door to door. My mom wasn't super happy about that. Eventually, I made my way into an office though, and I spent a good portion of my time working with office technology. So I spent some time with Konica Minolta. I was a legal technology expert and with Konica Minolta, working with the equipment and also the softwares that law firms use to deal with their documents and paperwork, and I've done everything from the call center to the boardroom, I guess is kind of what I like to say. But I've been with I've been in solar now for 7 years. And I started in solar as an individual contributor. So I started out kind of actually moved. It was a little bit of a scary thing, right? It was like, I want to get into this industry, but I'm going to have to come in as an individual contributor. Feels like a little bit of a step back, but the question of, do you believe in yourself enough to take that step back to ideally leap forward, right? And I did. I came in as an individual contributor, and from there made my way up through training teams to leading teams to building and leading department, and then building and leading a chunk of the organization. And that's what I'm doing here with Elevation. I've been with Elevation, I believe, like 2.5 years now, and working to create some really exciting changes and helping people to change the way they think about energy, but also to take advantage of phenomenal solutions to reduce your usage and also improve your home's efficiency while you take advantage of not only solar, but energy efficiency and curb energy monitoring.
It actually, living in Arizona, solar very, very popular for some reason. I don't know why, but
Little
no,
sunny.
no, maybe it's the 300 plus days of sun a year. Could be possibly it. But even still, people knowing about solar, it is still a thing people don't know. Like they don't understand. Like this is a learning curve. So let's talk about selling things that people don't understand. Me and Will, we do this as an IT and cybersecurity company, but tell us about how you do that. How do you inform a client to say, hey, like this is a good possible option for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's always a frame of mind that you have to help someone to get into. You know, when a person is looking at solar, usually there's something that's piqued the interest, right? Was it a high bill? Was it something, you know, about the, you know, controversial warming of our you know, continent or our planet? Is it, you know, regardless of why it's happening? Was it a friend or a neighbor? Someone told them, "Hey, you know, I did this, and here's the what I'm experiencing." But what I find when it comes to solar is that what we're really trying to do is we're trying to help people to one, know that there's a better way, right? So there's a if do either of you have solar?
I do not.
You do
I do
not.
not as well.
So here's a question that I would ask you: when you moved into your home, who's your utility company?
SRP.
SRP. And ComEd? Awesome. So why did you choose SRP or ComEd to give, you know, produce your electricity for your home?
I think it's the only option.
You
I
didn't
wouldn't
choose
exactly
them,
call it
right?
a choice.
It wasn't a choice. And so there's the conversation starter, right? Or part of a conversation starter. You didn't have a choice. There was no decision-making process that went into you deciding to shell out, you know, a couple $100 a month to ComEd or to SRP. What if there was a different way for you to get the same result, which is, I assume the result you're looking for is you want to walk into a room, flip the light switch, and you want the lights to come on, right?
That's generally
Simple.
correct.
Right? That's all you want. And so what if there's a different way that you could do it that was cleaner for the environment, that was better for your pocketbook? Would you be interested in exploring it? So that's kind of the conversation starter, right? It's not a, you know, some big rocket science type thing. It's really just around predictability, control, and choice is what usually I think gets the foot in the door.
Look at this. Amanda's going to get 2 new deals out of this podcast. This is going to be the most profitable podcast that anybody's ever done. So that makes sense to me. Starting a conversation. What does that process pull out? You know, we talk about people, process, the technology of how you scale a business. So everything has a process. Sales has a process. You got to start a conversation with somebody. So if that's knocking on doors, phone calls, flyers, marketing, whatever it is, starting a conversation, where does the process go from there?
So from there, I mean, you know, there's a couple of different ways. You know, we might come into contact with someone. You know, to your point, it might be knocking on a door. It might be someone coming to our website. It might be, you know, one of our partners saying, "Hey, I have a homeowner who's interested in talking with you." And from there, you know, they're going to be coupled with a consultant who's going to schedule a time to either talk with them over you know, a Teams or dial pad call, and or schedule a time to come into their home, sit down with them, and talk about their energy use and their energy future. The salesperson is going to use a number of different tools and technologies to do a few things, right? We have technologies available now. A lot of us are probably familiar with like Project Sunroof, which was grabbed up by Google, right? And so you're able to take a look at a satellite picture of your home, and it's going to tell you, you know, how much sun hours your home gets, and how good of a candidate your home is for solar. So tools like that with LiDAR or irradiance that's looking at your power consumption on your roof or the power appetite for your roof is going to be coupled into a proposal tool. And what the proposal tool is going to do is it's going to take that information, and we're then going to mock out panels that are going to be laid out on your roof. And the technology is going to be able to say how much power you're going to be able to produce with the solar system that's being designed on your home. We're going to do, a couple of different things. If we're over a call like this, then, we're going to do a screen share. We're going to be going through a presentation, asking questions, getting to understand the home's solar potential, the homeowner's goals, the family's future, and then building and designing a system that makes sense for that, taking into account the utility rules and regulations as it pertains to solar that apply to that particular home. If we're in person, we're going to pull up the laptop and kind of, share that side by side. And then there's going to be a decision made, right? And if the decision is we're going to move forward with solar, then there's going to be some other tools that are used to send documents and sign them to get the homeowner qualified, make sure if they're doing some sort of if they're doing a purchase that's finance assisted, or if they're doing a lease that is through our leasing partner, they have to qualify for the system. And then it goes deep into process, right? So once we have that piece figured out, now the sales team is going to be handing off that project to our kind of intermediary group, our sales operations team, that's going to look over and make sure we didn't miss any paperwork. They're going to make sure that documentation and all the information and the numbers and the math and everything get inputted into the system accurately. A lot of that is just checking what was pushed in by the integration, but you still have to check things, because as I'm sure you guys know, sometimes codes break, and and so it's good to have that set of eyes, and then that group is going to say, yep, we're good to go, and we're going to hand it off to our design engineers and our engineering team, which I do have to shout out. Elevation's engineering team, there is a qualification that is big in solar energy. It's NABCEP, NABCEP, and this certification says that you're the real deal when it comes to your area of whatever electrical expertise you have. One of those electrical expertises can be expertises.
I loved it. I loved expertises.
All right, going with it. One of those can be PV solar design, or photovoltaic solar design. In the state of Arizona, our design engineering team holds 50% of the NABCEP PV certifications in the state. So they're the real deal. They're a extremely talented group of individuals who do a phenomenal job of making sure that we're getting the most out of every system for every homeowner. It's designed in the best way. It's laid out properly. We're going to pass inspections on the first run, because we do have to take that design, get approved for permits through the authority having jurisdiction, whether it's the city, state, county, right? And if they say, nope, you're not there yet, they're going to kick it back, right? And so we have over a 95% first pass permit pass rate, over a 95% first inspection pass rate after the system's installed, and that is industry leading. So really proud of that team, but I digress. So we're moving that over to them, and they're looking at what was built with the AI assisted and the proposal tool, and they're saying, okay, now let's put this into some really powerful tools and say, can we really do this? Are we following all of the fire codes? Are we following all of the electrical codes? Do we have the right walking pathways on the roof? Do we have the right equipment and components? based on how much solar we're putting onto this home, can the main electrical panel handle that solar, that load? And if not, there are, different things that we can do to make that happen. We can, kind of, I'm going to use some words that I loosely know what they mean, right? No, we can, we can do like a D-rate where we're kind of pulling down the pull on the main breaker to make sure that nothing is tripping. Or we might say, no, we can't. There's no real workaround. We just need to replace this main electrical panel. And if that's needed to go solar, our electrical team will call that out. Once the electrical team's gone through, the design team has gone through and looked at everything and said, this is the real deal. This is what we can actually install on the home, get approved by all jurisdictions, and actually get the homeowner moving forward. Then if there are any changes, then the sales rep is going to take that information and bring it right back to the homeowner and say, hey, here's, after all of the smartest people in the business looked at it, here's, we had to remove one panel because there's not actually space for that. The proposal tool had the measurements on your roof a little bit off, or your home was built in 1955, like my home was, right? And when I purchased the home, one of the things that was very, very important to me was making sure that all the electrical was upgraded. I don't want 1955 electrical in my home, and so I have a new main electrical panel. But some people, maybe it was upgraded in the 80s, and the panel that they have now isn't up to code to our current NEC, National Electric Code. Qualifications for whether it's NEC 17, 20, 20, or 2023, depending on the jurisdiction. So once the homeowner says, hot dog, we're ready to go, then we're all good. And now our sales operations and sales team is fully handing that over to our operations team. Our project coordinators are going to work with the team to make sure that we're hitting all of the timeline milestones to get through the permitting, working with the utility. We have to get the utilities approval. Once we have those approvals, scheduling the site installation. If there were any electrical upgrades that needed to happen, we're going to have to schedule those before we can do the installation. Once it's installed, we have a quality team that we send out, that's an internal team after an installation, and we do our own inspection before we send it to inspection. So if there's any, and this is a training tool, and it's also a quality tool, so we can make sure that all of our crews are installing at the level at which we need. Once that quality check is done, it's a good opportunity for that team, whomever it was. If they did a great job, they get shouted out in their 5 a.m. meetings that I'm never at, because I'm up at 5, but I'm definitely not dressed and in the warehouse at 5 o'clock. So hats off to them. But that's a great shout out for them. They take a lot of pride in what they do. And once that installation is done and we've done our QC inspection, then we can call the jurisdiction, say, hey, we're ready for you to come out and take a look at everything, check it off, sign it off. And when they do, they give us the inspection pass. We can then reach out back out to the utility, and we say, hey, we're ready for you to tell us that the homeowner can flip the switch and start producing power. And then the utility does their own inspection. They take their time to make sure everything's all good. They do what's called, the system is interconnected to the grid, so any excess power that's produced that the home can't use right in the moment, and that's not going to a battery, if a battery is installed with the system, is going to push out bidirectionally back out to the grid, and it's going to make the homeowner's meter run backwards. They're going to get credit for all of the power that they produce is always theirs, but your utility account kind of acts as like a piggy bank for you for that excess power. So the utility has to say, hey, we're good. We're confident there will be no fires. So you're good to go ahead and turn it on, and the homeowner's now producing power. From that point further into the process, right? Once that is switched on, our monitoring team connects in with the system. The inverters in the system make sure that the system is producing, everything's firing and correct. And they'll give the check mark and say, all right, monitoring's done, we're all connected, and they will then take that ball and hand it over to our service team. And our service team will be with the homeowner from then all the way into perpetuity. These are, 25, 30-year relationships that we're building. So we have a fully integrated service team that takes care of our homeowners all the way through the end of the process. And also, we have that same team takes on, unfortunately, there are companies that go out of business sometimes, and homeowners who have systems that they're not sure what to do. And so we will actually work with what we call orphaned homeowners to take over the servicing of their system as well, and make sure that they have a home and someone that they can call, and someone that's able to make sure that they're always up and running and good to go. So that's a unique bit about Elevation as well.
Wow,
Pretty
it's a lot.
That's a comprehensive. That's a comprehensive. From sale all the way to operations, pretty comprehensive process, right? So specifically around sales, leadership that doesn't understand sales versus leadership that does understand sales. Usually, there's a butting of heads there. What are some misconceptions about sales from leadership, right? Where, look, every leader would love to have more sales. Sales cures all ails, supposedly. Talk a little bit about those misconceptions and how to go over how to get through those misconceptions.
Yeah. It's so funny because I just posted this morning. I was on the plane coming in, and not on the plane, but I was sitting down before they said put it on airplane mode. And I posted about how sales gets this has this like big grandiose rap of it's it's about convincing people to do something, and it's kind of gets a bad rap sometimes, but really everyone's in sales. Sales is in everything that we do. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about sales from leaders who are not in sales is missing out a little bit on the human element and the mental game that sales is. Sales is a mindset game, because the best, most phenomenal product in the world, and the best salesperson in the world, let's say you're phenomenal, and let's just say you close 60% of your business, and if you're out there and you're listening and you're in sales and you're closing 60% of your business, come talk to me, please. I've got a spot for you.
I've got a job for you, for sure.
But you're still going to be told no 40 times out of every 100, right? And so then if we back that back into some more normal numbers, let's say you're closing 25% of your business. You're being told no 75 times out of 100. And the strength and mindset that it takes to be told no 75 times and keep moving to get to those 25, it's a lot, and regardless of who you are, it can weigh on you. And so I think sometimes leaders who are not in sales, I have experienced where there's this idea of, well, just flip the switch. Well, just more. Hurry, more. Just flip the switch, and it's like, okay, well, let's really think about the people game of it. And sales is a very people-y business. It's highly psychology and sociology driven. So I think those would be the two that I really spend a lot of time, I would say, focusing on and trying to make sure that I help my counterparts really think about, put yourself in a situation where you're walking up and down the street and you had the door slammed in your face, 80 times. How would you feel? How do you put that next foot in front of the next to go to the next house, So
I'd start feeling like
have,
I'd want to help close that door. Just start slamming it and, just to make myself feel better.
I've been in overseeing people that do cold calling, and it is rough. That is a rough reality. That's what I will say. But if you figure out the right phrasing, you figure out the right way to approach things, and you keep high energy, which isn't easy when you're getting the door slammed in your face 20 or 80 times.
And don't get me wrong, because that's the fun of it in a way. That's it's the hunt, right? That's part of the fun of it. But a big part of a sales leader's role, especially if you're managing individual contributors, is just constantly helping to refresh mindset, constantly helping to find and exploit silver lining. That's a big part of the business.
No, that's true. Give some examples of how that is achieved. Obviously, you've overseen lots in your time. How do you take a negative interaction and make it a little bit more positive?
So when I was on the phones, I used to do this thing, and it would crack my team up, but it worked for me. And so, especially if I was cold calling and I was just kind of cranking through, if I got hung up on, or if someone hung up, I would just say, after the call was, they already hung up, and I would say, "Okay, bye, friend," and and then I would kind of hit click and dial the next one. But it was a mechanism for me to not sit in that, right? Don't let it phase you. Don't let it affect you. And I remember one of the guys who sat near me, Michael. He would always say, "How do you do that?" Like, he's like, "Aren't you like angry? Like, don't you want? They should be listening to you." And I'm like, "They weren't my sale today." And and if I harp on that, then I'm definitely gonna miss out on my opportunity. So all right, bye, friend. Talk to you later. Okay, thank you. But so that was me personally. But as a leader, I think so. A couple of things. One, and this is in any leadership role, right? But it's really important to know your people, and to get to know your people, and to genuinely care, to understand who they are, to learn about them. I have this thing where if I walk out on the floor, or if I'm out, if I'm having lunch with one of my my sales leaders or an individual, if I say, "How are you doing?" I don't want you to start spitting out metrics at me and what's I want to know how you are doing. You're a whole human being. You're a whole person, right? And I've got reports and analytics up the wazoo that I can use to look at the business. And if we're having a conversation specifically about the business, then we can dig into that. But I think I've caught a few people by surprise, and where I'm just like, no, just what's up? Like, oh, you mean with me? Yeah. Like, how are you? And so that's I think one big one that helps, because if you can't help someone to see the silver lining in a challenging situation if they don't trust you. And people trust people who actually show an interest in them and who actually genuinely deliver realness to them, right? So there are people who can tell you that I've got an 18-year-old son, and he's I think he's probably more my best friend than I am his at this point. But there was a time when I was his his best friend, and he's my favorite. He's my favorite guy, right? Even he's 18 years old, and I still can't see past 4-year-old him. My wife, she's my real best friend, my actual best friend. And we love to travel, and we love the outdoors. And my brother owns a kayak and paddleboard rental business here in Arizona, and I love hitting the water, and it's just like, that's me. And so if someone wants to connect with me, what do they do? They talk to me about me, right? And then we find some commonality, some common interest in the, and in a way, that's sales.
Yep.
Right? You got to talk to someone about them, and then you find something that's in common. You guys build on that, and then there's reciprocity, right? Now I'm willing to hear what it is that you actually have to say. I'm willing to give a little bit. So everything is sales. Sales is just relationships, right? And so we have to treat our people like people, not employees, and then we can help them to find silver linings. And then there's the little things like donuts and taken out to lunch and doing, team outings and all of that good stuff. And we do all of that stuff. But the real crux of it is caring about people.
I'm so glad that you made the connection. I'm like, yeah, that is sales in a nutshell. Leadership has a lot of that going on, right? Because when you break down leadership, it's like, what's the end overarching goal? It's like, well, you want better for everybody there, for the company, for yourself. Like, you want better. And how do you get that? Well, you build a deeper relationship, and then you find out what makes somebody tick, and then you emphasize like, hey, like, let's build this together. And I want you to be as excited as I am about building this thing.
Yeah.
And the only way you get there is caring, to your point. And sales is exactly the same. It's like, the only way I can make you make a good decision about your energy in your home is if you enjoy talking to me to at least a somewhat degree, so then we can have a conversation about how you could possibly do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first step is to be likable, right?
Oh
yeah. Yeah. Great call.
No, for sure. It's intriguing how everything's process. You have this full process built out and what that looks like. What does a person that says, actually, I don't want solar? We went through. You looked at my roof with the fancy tools. We went through, and then I say, you know what? This is not for me right now. What happens then? What is the process that looks like then?
So the process at that point is, so one, we're going to want to know why, right? What is it about this that's just not connecting? So there's going to be a little digging there. We're also going to see if maybe someone is just wanting to reduce their home's usage. Like, I just think my home can be a little bit more efficient. I don't, I'm not ready to make a big change, bolt panels to my roof and do all of that. Okay, that's fine. So if a home is over 10 years old, most homes of that age could probably use some energy efficiency, duct sealing, blown-in insulation, making sure that we're doing full energy audit, make sure that if there are any hot spots in the house, cold spots in the house, even all that out. And we do that as well. So as part of our whole home solution, we offer that as a solution as well. Some folks might say, you know what, I want to be more connected with the energy decisions that I'm making, and I want something that can be more preventative and informational. Well, our curb energy technology allows for homeowners to see how their home's using energy at all the way down to each breaker level, and also gives them a readout of, okay, if you continue to use energy the way that you're using it today, this is what your electricity bill is going to be this month. If you make this, and this change, you can reduce your bill by this amount. The curb technology will also, which is actually really, really exciting, and I would have love to have this back when my AC went out, but the curb technology will also monitor major appliances, the air conditioner, HVAC system in specific, and if it starts to pull more, or if it's pulling more energy, running differently, it will be able to alert the homeowner and say, hey, you probably want to call your HVAC technician to come in and look at this, and so we can catch things like that. Like, we all know that you Justin, living in Arizona, air conditioners never go out in the winter, right? They always they always seem to decide to go out in the hottest part of the year. Tricky things. So so there are those other options. We also have in my opinion, we have a really world-class referral program. So if a homeowner's like, this isn't for me, but you know what, I have friends and family that, because the goal is just to educate also. So, I just want someone to learn about the option. And so our referral program allows for $500 to the referrer. 250 of that is delivered just as long as your referral sits with us for a consultation. So if they sit for a consultation, you're going to capture that 250. The other 500 would be after their system's installed, if they decide to move forward. So it's an incentive to help people to get the information. And what we find is that most people who sit down and see that, wow, okay, let's go back to the beginning, right? Lights, flip switch, turn on, cost less, good stuff, right? so getting the information out there is one of the biggest pieces for us. So, and then from that point, we have nurture processes, right? So it's going to go back into our nurture, because things change. You may have seen there's information coming out of California where I believe it's the California Supreme Court is going to be hearing arguments about the net metering change that went into effect last year in April. They're finding, some folks are believing that it is less than constitutional, and so they're going to be re-looking at that, right? We just recently had a change in APS in Arizona last September, I believe, or October, where another drop went into place. So things are always changing, and energy companies, electric companies are always increasing rates as well. And so, I think my mom told me a long time ago, when it creates enough problems for you, you'll change it, right? When I was a hard-headed young person, I'm sure you probably have heard your parents say something similar. And so, we might be getting with someone when the pain's just not that much. It's just like, the pain that I'm feeling doesn't outweigh what I perceive as the hassle of making the change. But allow SRP to raise their rates one or two more times, and they might be interested again, right? And so there's that nurture that goes in, and nurture is going to happen through email, through text, through phone calls, through opportunities to hey, remember, you can share a referral, and different things like that will happen. Hopefully they'll folks can follow us on our social medias. So on Instagram, powered by Elevation. On Instagram, people can follow us on Facebook on Elevation Solar on Facebook, on LinkedIn, TikTok. We're on the TikTok. You'll catch me doing some, what do we call them? TikToks. While we have it,
solar dances, perhaps.
Some solar dances, yeah. Donning some sunglasses and doing some fun stuff. So yeah, we have a lot of different ways to connect and stay connected with the homeowner. Until if and when they make the decision to make a change.
Is there a science behind the nurture process? Meaning, is there some fast rules? Like, you don't want to nurture, meaning you don't want to talk to them every single day, right? because that's going to annoy someone, right? But on the flip side, right, the opposite of the spectrum is that they forget about you, right? So you want to be top of mind, or maybe not top, but somewhere where you get remembered without being annoying, but still being politely persistent, if you will.
Yeah.
So what's that line? What does that cadence look like? Is there a science to that? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
I am in the camp that I believe it's more of an art than a science. And there's a couple of things to consider. So like you said, you don't want to be forgotten, but you don't want to be annoying. When does something get annoying, right? If I sat with you and let's think about what we've done, right? If I've made that connection, and I know you a little bit, we liked each other, and then you decided not to move forward. If my nurture process is, hey Will, you ready to move forward? 2 days later, hey Will, you ready to move forward? Right? But if my nurture process is it's the 25th that we're recording this, right? So say on the 30th, hey Will, I hope you're feeling better. Man, that was really, it went around. It hit my office pretty bad too. I saw this article and it made me think of when we were talking about, XYZ at your house. Hope you like it. Right? And then the next conversation might be an email that you receive that reminds you of our referral program. The next conversation might be a call. Hey, did we talk about our curb energy solution? I was looking through my notes. I couldn't remember if we touched on that. Right? So it's about how you do it. Now, if anyone calls anyone with a I'll just call it out, a garbage message 10 times a week for like that's definitely not the art. But I think it's more of an art than a science. And again, it goes back to caring. It goes back to caring about the person, understanding what the problem is, helping them to understand that there is a problem, right? And part of the problem is that if we go back to the beginning of our conversation, right? You didn't choose the electric company that you're with. It's not us against the homeowner. It's us and the homeowner on the same side of the table, trying to give them a better solution for how they produce energy, which is something they're going to have to do forever. Unless, I mean, if we can find Nikola Tesla's old notes and maybe get that free energy thing going, I'm all for it, right? But until then, it's really about helping them to help themselves, and we have to find creative ways to do that consistently. And yeah, at a certain point, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, might have a cooling period where you're like, okay, one, I've got no more things to reach out about right now. Two, maybe they're just not ready, and then and then there might be a piece of news that comes up that affects this homeowner. Someone right down the street from them might have decided to move forward with you, and that gives you a reason to stop by or to call or text, right? Like, hey, I was just working with Judy and Bob down the street. I remembered I knew the neighborhood looked familiar. Hope you've been doing well. What's been going on? Have you made the decision to move forward with solar? Have you seen any of the news that's come out lately, right? So it's conversational, ideally.
How much of this can you remember, and how much of this are you using a tool to remind yourself? I feel like this question happens all the time, because people that are really big networkers, a lot of times there's a lot of feel. There's a lot of it's not as systemized is the easiest way to put it. It's very like, you just have this brain that remembers all these things, and that's just a part of the superpower. But like using a CRM or something, you could achieve memory, and then obviously just be having some form of process to be able to, like, this neighborhood, this piece of news, this thing, and then like that hits this grouping of people. Because like right now, right? It's like, oh, 18-year-old son. Well, he's going to graduate here soon. Boom, here's a reason to contact you. Oh, love kayaking. Great. That's wonderful. I love kayaking too. It's
Yeah.
summertime. Let's go kayaking. Like all of these things, it's just like they're in my brain right now.
Yeah.
But
They
3
won't
months from
be.
now, or it's
They
just like
they won't be 2 weeks from now, right?
exactly.
A good rule of thumb is one, yes, CRM is critical. I don't trust my brain to remember anything for any length of time. I'm great in the moment. I think we all are, but there's so much information and so many things flying at us all day long at any given moment. I know that I can walk out of my office, have one conversation with one person, and commit to a deliverable. I know that if I don't have my phone in my hand, like me personally, I don't have any type of agreement with them or anything, but I use Motion. So I'll plug a Motion task in. I have my whole thing set up, and it'll pop it onto my calendar, so I can do that from my phone. But so I'm not using a CRM, me personally, but
Mhm.
for the team, yeah, we're using CRM, and when you complete a task with a homeowner, you complete a follow-up, schedule your next one. Just do that, because
Cool.
otherwise you're not going to remember, and
Mhm.
then you're going to be disorganized. You're going to feel like you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to, oh well, when was the last time, right? And then notes, oh my goodness, please take notes, like just type it in there.
What kind of notes? Hold on. Let's be a little bit more specific here, because are you going to really just put in the entire conversation? Right? You might as well just record and transcribe if you're going to have that. So what are good notes versus
Yeah.
not, right?
So when we're doing our consultations, if they're virtual, we are recording and transcribing, and the transcription gives you action items and all that good stuff. But when it comes to taking notes, you take the notes that you're going to do something with, right? So I'll give an example. So Justin is in SRP. Will, you're in comment. I'm going to write those things down, right? Will, not feeling well today. Child in school age, probably got him sick, got the whole house sick, right? I'm going to take down the note of the questions that came up. I'm going to take down the note of, hey, this was a pinch point and here's how we overcame it. Here's what was said. The play-by-play, moment-by-moment, if you're trying to achieve that, if you're that great of a note taker, or typey note, man, I envy you. I'm not that great of a note taker. If I need that level of note, then I'm gonna record the call and use a tool because when I'm doing that, I'm thinking about taking my notes. I'm not thinking about being in the conversation. And so when I take notes, it's bullets, right? It's moments and it's pieces that I'm going to do something with. So for instance, Justin, you might take a note down, like you said, right, of my son's 18. I love to kayak. Like the things that I'm gonna the connection notes, the connections, the pain points, and the questions, and then how we overcame objections. Those are the notes that I'm going to take. The rest of it, I'll leave it to an AI tool, or there's that spatial brain that happens when you get back into the conversation with the person. A lot of stuff will start to flood back. If you had those personal notes and the pain points and all those things, the other pieces of the conversation should start to flow back for you. It's like, so selling solar, I would remember people when I looked at their roof on satellite. I would look at the notes and be like, oh, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember this person,
that
right?
roof.
Because and that was like the floodgate. So a lot of times there's that trigger also that'll help to make the notes all make sense.
As I was thinking, and I think this would be good for all of us. We need to have a piece of AI that is pulling out, the pieces that we want. I think, and this probably exists, and I'm just not hip enough to understand. Is maybe what the problem is. But like, I want to know if you mentioned a hobby. In your case, I want to know the age of your house. Like, if you mentioned
Hmm.
1955, I want to know it's 1955.
Yeah.
If you know that you were upgraded in 1980, I want to know that they upgraded in 1980. Like those things, and building that specific for your company, right? Because like different company,
Yeah.
in a separate company, I don't care that you upgraded your energy, in 1980. That doesn't do
That you're not
anything
going to
for me
use that, right?
because
So that's
I cut palm trees, and that really doesn't matter in
it
any way,
doesn't
right?
matter. Yeah. No, that's 100% because it's the notes that you're going to use. So to
Yeah,
that point, that's something I would write down because I need that information. That's going to
yeah,
help me know if later in the conversation I need to talk about the potential of an electrical upgrade for the home, right?
yeah,
I need the information of the age of the roof because that's going to
yeah.
help me to guide the conversation. So yeah, it's that's how I guess that's how I think about it is, I mean, take notes that you're going to use.
No, when you said that, I was like, that's great. Like that, like my brain said, oh, that makes so much sense. I've been thinking this, but not able to express it, and you hit it right on the nose. So thank you so much. I'm very excited about that. You have no idea how much excitement that brings me, which
Love
seems
it.
very odd. Not a big. I mean, I write notes. I write random notes, certainly, but like I'm not a great note taker by any means. So okay, all right. I want to ask a question about people though. So how, lots of process stuff, lots of ways to do things. How do you know when you have the right person in the right seat when it comes to sales? Like that seems to be for a lot of owners or leadership is a mystery box unless they've done sales.
Yeah. So I learned I guess a process or a measurement years ago, really early in my career, back in my restaurant days, which we didn't even talk about. But it was skill, hill, or will. And
Skill, yeah, well,
the question is, does the person have the skill to do the work? Is there a skill gap? Is there a hill? Are there tools or technologies, systems, processes that are missing that are creating a gap in being able to complete the work, or is it will? Um, is this person just not want to do the work, right? Skill and hill we can work through. Will I can't. There are some things that you can't teach, and I can't teach someone to wake up and show up to work on time. I can't teach someone to. I can try and help shape, but ultimately, if someone is the type of person that only looks at the negative side and they're unwilling to shift, I hopefully they are able to learn that down the road, but at some point I'll have to say, okay, I've tried all the things that I know and I have not been able to help to connect this for this person, so maybe they're not the right person for the seat. And even further than that, I want to share that there's always also the question of, do you have the right seat developed, right? Sometimes we have a role in an organization because we think we're supposed to have that role, when really maybe that's just not the right role for your organization, and some of the job description and function needs to be shifted in order to make sure that you have the right seat, because you might have the right person but they actually just might be in the wrong seat, which I'm talking to the singing to the choir here, but
oh
yeah,
yeah,
so that's another piece that I think sometimes, especially when we're getting into the hill, the process, right, or the process gap. Maybe it's not a process gap. Maybe it's a gap of we're doing things that we actually should not be doing or don't need to be doing, and we need to kind of rewrite that role. And not around the person, but around the business, and then making sure that we're finding the right person for that role.
So much EOS goodness right there. Just said slightly differently. Skill, Hill, and Will. There's a concept in EOS that is get it, wants it, and has the capacity to do it. Right. So like you get your job, you get what the goal is. You
Yep.
want that job. You actually want to do it, and then you actually have the ability and capacity to achieve the outcome that we're looking for.
Absolutely.
And then you're totally right. The seat might not be the right seat for the organization. It also might not be the right seat for that specific person, even though that person fits in a completely different seat that is open for them to have.
Absolutely.
All right. When we talked to you the last time, there's something that I want to bring up because I thought it was super unique. You were using a technology that I thought was pretty cool. I've known about it for a while. Marketing companies like to use it a lot. And you were dabbling, you were kind of working in it, dabbling in it. So can you talk about technology, automation, and what you were even working on? And if I understand correctly, before Elevation, you've never touched it. My understanding. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Zapier?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had not ever touched it before Elevation. I actually hadn't heard of it until probably a year and a half ago, maybe. I think is when it really started to get more mainstream popular, it seems. Or I could be wrong. Maybe I was just in a cave. But it makes it so there's a developer that we work with, and he sent me today. He's developing something. I think you guys will get a kick out of this. He's developing a process, a automation process, in a tool that's not compatible with Zapier or anything like that at all. And he's like, "Well, here's where I am so far," and he sends me the code. I'm like,
yeah, because you're a code reader, right? You can read code, right?
I'm like, so we're almost there. This is possible, you know. And but Zapier is a tool that makes it so that I don't have to look at colons and equal signs and all of these different things in order to make something do something, right? So if I think we talked about the process of like a morning message, something I've been playing with that. Instead of me spending the time to search out, find something, motivational, interesting, funny, whatever to share, and then find that, put it in the system and send it out. I can set up Zapier to work with ChatGPT into a sheet, Excel spreadsheet that then pushes into Teams, right? And have that on an automation. So every morning at 8 a.m. the team gets a funny joke, or something like that. And so that's like a really simple explanation of it. But I mean, you can use it for a lot of things. And right now in the business, we're using it to connect some lead generation that doesn't from companies that don't have really robust development people. So they're not able to kind of get all of that back end stuff pushed in, but we can connect it with Zapier or the front end tool that we're in the process of integrating. I know that they're using Zapier to integrate and connect. So as you guys probably heard while I was sharing, there are quite a few different tools that are used early on, and so Zapier is something that can take all of those and bring them into one and automate processes that a robot can do that can free up some time for a human to do other things.
So
watch out, Terminator style. You got to be careful when you let the robots have all the fun.
So when we talk about robots, okay, we're talking about really it's RPA, robotic process automation. That's the actual terminology, right? And Zapier is a tool. There's a bunch of different Zapier like tools. So Zapier is not the only one. Microsoft Flow is another one, or Power Automate. And essentially, it's a way to have no code or low code to be able to automate different aspects of, let's say, your day to day. And
Mhm.
it really does you have to take a minute to step back and like actually consider what your day looks like, in order to be able to, and then take into consideration what are those repetitive tasks. And then those repetitive moments is what you can essentially earn your time back. Yes, you got to spend a little bit of time to do it, but then imagine over a year, your return becomes over a longer time frame, right?
Yeah.
You spend some time there, but over the longer time frame, you don't have to really think about it as much anymore, or take as much time to do whatever it is, right? So that's Zapier in a nutshell, which is super cool. Love that you're doing that as a technology. As an IT company, I love when I hear, especially in the construction industry, that they're doing something. It's like, oh my God, thank you. Like for once, someone gets it, right? You're not just hammering away. Okay. So anyways, we are running out of time. So, and I feel like we could be talking forever about sales, because that's really just human psychology.
Super interesting, right?
Oh, 100%. Because what works today might not work tomorrow.
100%.
And it might not have worked 20 years ago, right? But it works today, right?
Yep.
So, and what works tomorrow might not work the day after. So it's a constantly evolving thing. Unfortunately, because we're running out of time, we got to ask you the question that we ask always at the end of our episodes. So, you ready? If you were to go back 20 years, what would you tell yourself?
If I could go back 20 years, what would I tell myself?
Mm-hmm.
Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, definitely. No question about that.
No,
There's
not
no
a single question. No questions at all. Buy Bitcoin, invest in the S&P 500, and be kind to yourself. But those, like, I got to throw, I guess, one in there that doesn't have to do with me being a billionaire sitting here right now today. But yeah, those would be the things.
So we say be kind to yourself. Can you tell us what does that mean to you?
Yeah. I think for a lot of us, wherever you are in life today, you possibly, in a lot of folks' situations, I know mine, right? You prayed for it, you hoped for it, you meditated for it, you wished for the life that you have now at some point back in time. But a bit of human nature helps us to stay unsatisfied a little bit, and so we're always thinking about what's next, what can I do more, what's next, right? And so giving yourself the space to appreciate your life in the moment, and appreciate how how blessed, or whatever the word that resonates with you is super important. And also being kind to yourself, to me, means giving yourself the grace to screw up, and to not be exactly where you want to be ultimately, and not make it about your character or you as a person, and not condemn yourself for it. Just give yourself the space to live.
I like it. Give yourself the space to live. Very cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. This has been a ton of fun. I've learned stuff. I've gotten a bunch of joy from today. So I hope you had a good time with us, Amanda.
Yes, very much. I've truly enjoyed this.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely gonna have to go kayaking. That's gonna have to happen.
Let's hit the
for
water.
Sure. Totally down for that. But before we go kayaking on this, whenever that occurs, would you like to tell the people anything before you go?
If you are in Arizona or Nevada, specifically in the Vegas area, Greater Phoenix metropolitan area, so Phoenix and surrounding, or Tucson, and you've ever considered or not considered going solar or looking at solar for your home, visit us at poweredbyelevation.com. You can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. If you like, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Amanda Miller AZ is how you can find me on LinkedIn. And love to chat. And, the goal is to make the world greener. And I always tell people that my why is I'd like my son and my grandkids potentially to my nieces and nephews to have air to breathe when they're older. So it's the little things, but it's a big thing.
Yeah, the little big things for sure. We'll make sure we throw all the social links and all that stuff in the show notes for you. And yeah, like I said, we had a blast. So to our listeners, I hope you had just as much fun as we did. And until next time, adios.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
And until next time,
Keep building scale.
Scale.